The marina shimmered under the late afternoon sun, white boats bobbing gently against polished docks like expensive toys. People here spoke softly but dressed loudly, their watches glinting, their laughter confident. Among them stood Victoria Hale, sunglasses perched on her head, arms crossed as she stared at her luxury yacht with pure irritation. The engine had died again, third time this month. 30 experts had already inspected it, poked around, shaken their heads, and handed her invoices thicker than the owner's manual. "This is ridiculous," she snapped, her voice carrying across the dock. "I paid more for this boat than most people earn in a lifetime, and none of you can fix it." A cluster of mechanics exchanged uncomfortable glances. One muttered something about a rare electrical fault. Another suggested replacing the entire engine system. Again, Victoria scoffed. "Of course you would," she said. "Replace everything, charge me a fortune, and still no guarantees." Nearby, sitting on an overturned crate, was a man who didn't belong. His clothes were clean but worn, his hands rough, his face lined with the quiet exhaustion of someone who worked more than he slept. His name was Daniel Brooks, though no one here knew that. He had come to the marina with his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, who stood beside him licking a melting ice cream, watching the rich people with wide, curious eyes. Daniel had once been a marine technician, years ago before life unraveled, before his wife got sick, before hospital bills swallowed their savings, before he sold his tools one by one just to keep food on the table. Now he worked odd jobs, fixing fences, repairing engines for fishermen who paid in cash and gratitude. He hadn't planned to interfere. He rarely did. But as Victoria continued to berate the mechanics, Daniel's eyes drifted back to the yacht. He had been listening without meaning to, noticing small details. The way the experts kept focusing on the engine itself. The way no one mentioned the auxiliary power system. The subtle flicker of the dashboard lights he'd seen earlier. Lily tugged his sleeve. "Daddy, can you fix that boat?" Daniel gave a small smile. "Probably," he said softly, "but that's not our business." Unfortunately, Victoria heard him. She turned sharply. "Excuse me." Her gaze dropped from his face to his shoes, then back up with thinly veiled disdain. "Did you just say you could fix my boat?" Daniel hesitated. Every instinct told him to stay quiet. People like her didn't want help, they wanted control. But Lily was looking up at him now, hopeful. "I said probably," he replied calmly. "If I could take a look." Victoria laughed, not a warm laugh, sharp, incredulous. "That's adorable. 30 certified experts failed and you," she gestured vaguely at him, "think you can do better." Some of the mechanics shifted, half offended, half curious. Daniel felt the familiar heat of humiliation creep up his neck, but he kept his voice steady. "I'm not saying I'm better," he said. "Just that sometimes the problem isn't where everyone's looking." Victoria folded her arms again, a slow smile forming. "Fine, you know what? Go ahead. If you're so smart, then fix my boat." She leaned closer, lowering her voice as if delivering a verdict. "But when you fail, you'll apologize for wasting my time." Daniel nodded once. "That's fair." Part 2. The moment Daniel stepped onto the yacht, the mood shifted. Conversations hushed. People watched with a mix of amusement and skepticism, as if waiting for a street magician to embarrass himself. Lily sat on the dock, swinging her legs, whispering encouragement to herself. Daniel moved slowly, deliberately. He didn't rush to open the engine casing. Instead, he ran his hand along the interior panels, listened to the faint hum of electricity still flowing somewhere it shouldn't. He closed his eyes for a moment, remembering long nights in old marinas, fixing boats by flashlight while his wife slept in the truck, trusting him completely. "See anything?" Victoria called out impatiently. "Maybe," Daniel replied. He traced a wire bundle toward the rear, noticing a modification, aftermarket, poorly grounded. Expensive upgrades often caused the worst problems when installed by people who assumed money replaced precision. He opened a secondary compartment near the navigation system. One of the experts scoffed. "We already checked that." Daniel didn't respond. He followed the wiring further, then stopped. There it was, a tiny, almost invisible crack in a connector, causing intermittent power failure. When the boat vibrated just right, the engine shut down to protect itself. A safety feature doing its job too well. He exhaled slowly, simple, annoying, overlooked. Daniel borrowed a basic tool from one of the mechanics, who handed it over with reluctant curiosity. Within minutes, he cleaned the connection, reinforced it with a temporary fix using materials already on board, and resecured the wiring to reduce vibration. "Try it now," he said. Victoria rolled her eyes but nodded to the captain. The engine turned over once, twice, then roared to life, smooth and steady. The sound cut through the marina like a declaration. Silence followed. One of the experts stepped forward. "That's impossible." Daniel shrugged. It was just a bad connection. Victoria stared at the control panel, then at Daniel as if seeing him for the first time. "That's it?" she asked. "After all this time?" "For now," Daniel said honestly. "You'll want a permanent replacement part eventually, but this should hold." People began murmuring, some impressed, some embarrassed. Lily jumped up, clapping. "My daddy fixed it." Victoria removed her sunglasses slowly. "How much do I owe you?" Daniel hesitated. He thought of rent, groceries, shoes for Lily that didn't have holes. "Whatever you think is fair," he said. Victoria pulled out her phone, tapped quickly, then paused. "Why aren't you working as a marine engineer?" she asked abruptly. "Life," Daniel replied simply. She nodded, then showed him the screen. The number made his breath catch. It was more than he'd earned in months. "That's for today," she said. "And this," she handed him a business card, "is an offer, full-time, benefits. No excuses about pride, you earned it." Daniel looked at the card, then at Lily, who was beaming like he'd just conquered the world. "I'll think about it," he said quietly. Victoria smiled, not mockingly this time. "You should." Part 3. Word spread faster than Daniel expected. By the next morning, the marina buzzed with the story of the poor dad who fixed what 30 experts couldn't. Some exaggerated it into legend. Others dismissed it as luck. Daniel didn't care. He cared about the groceries he bought that evening without counting coins. He cared about Lily's new shoes. He did take the job. Weeks later, Daniel walked the same docks in a clean uniform, tools back in his hands, confidence slowly rebuilding. He worked hard, but this time his effort was seen, respected. Victoria kept her distance professionally, but every now and then she watched him work with quiet appreciation. One afternoon, Lily sat on the dock again, drawing pictures of boats. Victoria stopped beside her. "Your dad is very talented," she said. Lily looked up seriously. "He always was, people just didn't notice." Victoria smiled at that. She had spent her life surrounded by smart people, certified people, expensive people. It took a humbling breakdown and a mocking challenge to remind her that intelligence didn't always come with titles or polish. As Daniel finished up for the day, he looked out over the water, feeling something he hadn't felt in years: stability. Not wealth, not fame, just the solid sense that he could stand on his own again. All because someone mocked him. And he proved them wrong.